about the 2023 rankings. So each of us ranked our top 150 players in the, in fantasy football. We sent our list to Josh, and he crunched the numbers, and it spout out our consensus rankings. But boy, did we have some differences here. So, Josh, do you just kind of want to kick off who in the top 10 you think that we should discuss why somebody had somebody in a different place?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the top two are pretty close to obvious at the very least. So Justin Jefferson and Christian McCaffrey tie for number one, actually. And that's all due to Billy ranking Justin Jefferson at 3 and Christian McCaffrey at 1, which we really need to talk about. But it's basically Justin Jefferson, McCaffrey, Eckler, Chase, Taylor, Barkley, Hill, Bijan, Josh Jacobs, and Cooper Kupp. And I don't think you can flip-flop however you want. You could say Chase should be higher. You could say Jacobs should be lower. But I mean, I feel like for the most part, this is pretty accurate. I mean, top 10 at the very least. Flip-flop however you want. But I mean, our rankings didn't really get screwy until a little bit later.
That's true. Well, I feel like let's just rip the Band-Aid off. So you all ranked Saquon Barkley at number 10. I ranked him at number 2. I'll lay out my process. So he was running back 5 last year. I think that we saw the worst of what that offense is going to look like. I think year 2 with Daboll is going to look a lot more stable. Daniel Jones has a contract. Saquon Barkley is going to be. I don't know if he's going to get. I don't know if he didn't get a contract, right? He's still on.
He's on the franchise tag.
This motherfucker said he was not going to show up for practice.
That's why he's lower in mine as well. I still think I put it.
They always say that shit, and they always show up. Josh Jacobs did the same thing and was amazing last year. So
Billy,
I will believe it when I see it.
No, Billy, keep going. Was that your reason?
My thought process is they didn't really bring any good wide receivers in there to steal away. They need to throw the ball to him more. He only got 76 targets last year, which was extremely low. And I'm hoping that now that they have Darren Waller there, they have a couple guys that maybe they're going to try to pass the ball more, and then that'll open up a little bit more for Saquon Barkley because the defense doesn't have to completely focus on him, and it can open him up a little bit more than he has been in the past couple of years.
Joe, before you go, because I know you have something specific about Saquon, I want to talk about the fact that your top 6 is 5 running backs, and Justin Jefferson's number 3. And I feel like we have this discussion every year, and it's getting more and more like this, like Justin Jefferson, Chase, Tyreek Hill, more people. Like you have Hill at 10, and reason why he slipped down the board. I got to get behind. Why do you have 5 running backs in your top 6?
So now it's become a case of running back scarcity. I think that you can get wide receiver value later, and so am I going to push for somebody to take a wide receiver super at the beginning? Again, health is a huge problem here because running back gets hurt, they're pretty much out for the season. They're done. But the problem is with wide receivers, it's pretty much the same thing. And I have some concerns, and I think you can get value later with wide receivers. So I think that since the pool is larger, that it's not as premium of a position. I think you can get them, Justin Jefferson's still number 3 to me. It's not like I'm kicked him off my board.
I'm shocked that we talked about this last year about how Justin Jefferson and Chase, we're okay with you drafting them 1-2. And I mean, now you have Chase at 7, and it just seems a little low to me. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, Joe, you go ahead and get your Saquon takeout because I feel you seething over there. You're muted for whatever reason.
Yeah, I had a headphone catastrophe there. I am absolutely seething. Not really. Running backs are dead, Bill. I'm just going to go out and say it, man. You say there's a wider player pool in wide receivers, and that's true. But there's so many running backs now, and especially if you're playing in a PPR, that you do not need this top running back like you used to have in the past. It's great to have one if you're in that spot. But my best teams have always come with wide receivers, top 10 wide receivers on a team, something like that has always been the best possible build for me. No, I like my only thing with Saquon, man, is the whole thing with him not showing up. And I know you think he's going to show up, and I believe you in that one. But right now, that's just what is bringing him down in my rankings a little bit. I do think Saquon has a phenomenal year. I just like the other guys better.
I actually have Josh Jacobs over Saquon, mainly because I don't really trust the Giants, and I feel like whatever Devontae Adams has against Garoppolo is I understand he's friends with Derek Carr, but personally, I think Garoppolo is basically a transition from Carr in the same lateral transfer at that point. I don't know, but Saquon, I don't know why we're still pretending like Daniel Jones is going to be good. I think this contract was shit, and it's really bad for the Giants in the future, but I don't dislike it because I'm an Eagles fan. So I know Saquon's great. I know he's going to be up there. I just with the issues there, I still have him as running back 5. I still have him in the first round. I don't have any issues with that, but at 2 above Justin Jefferson is just rich to me.
That's fine. I mean, a running back finished above Justin Jefferson last year, so it's not like crazy that a running back could finish above Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, but I feel like Christian McCaffrey's a cheat code.
It wasn't him. It's Austin Eckler, but
same concept. Same concept. You got
PPR, exactly. PPR, exactly what I'm saying.
Billy, I like how you leaned right into that because we had a lot of questions about that one. Josh, Bijan, Billy and I have him at 8. You have him at 15.
Yeah, I don't really have an issue with this either way. My main thing for Bijan is that I didn't want to put him above Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor, who are established. Jonathan Taylor's coming into a lot better of a situation. Saquon Barkley. Actually, I have him below Saquon. And then, I put Josh Jacobs above him because he was running back 1 last year, like for the majority of the year. So I just couldn't put him up there yet. I still have him at 15. He's still a late first. I feel like this is about where he's going to go. He is at 8 in our total rankings with all 3 of ours. So, because there's just so much variation here by 2 or 3 picks. I only highlighted this one because I wanted to talk about. I don't have any issues with Bijan. I don't want you guys to think that I hate Bijan. I think he's going to be good. I just don't have faith in the Falcons, and I just have faith in the stars who are stars already.
No, speaking of hate, Joe.
Yes,
we got to talk about Josh Jacobs. You don't believe it's gonna happen.
Oh, that's true. I missed that. That's my bad.
Well, it stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, 19.
Yes, you have him 19. We both have him in the top 10. What do you hate about Josh Jacobs?
Mike Williams of running backs over here.
He's not good? Oh, my Lord.
Josh's argument about the Falcons being good is my argument about the Raiders good. I don't think they're a great team. I'm probably a little bit low on him. I went through these rankings basically how I would draft people, and that's just kind of where he fell on there. I do like Josh Jacobs. I've never rostered Josh Jacobs in a league. I was very high on him last year. I just think we see that team kind of sputter this year, especially with Devontae Adams already saying, hey, I don't like the way this offense is going, and there's going to be drama there. It's just not looking good for the Raiders already.
I think the biggest thing for Jacobs is he's been a top 10 back pretty much first round back, top, I guess, RB1 the last 3 years. And I just don't see it going anywhere because there's no competition behind him. There's no second guy to his Jacobs. I mean, there's nothing happening there. I'm not saying Algier is going to cut into Bijan. Like I said, I have no issues with Bijan. My biggest thing is just that you can't take it away from Jacobs just yet. So, anyway, let's get into.
I'm just looking at the guys I have around him. I have Najee, Garrett Wilson, and Amon-Ra in front of him. I would take those guys in front of Josh Jacobs.
I'm keeping him in the first round for now. I can't.
Yeah, I think our rankings are pretty solid.
They actually averaged this. Yeah. That was one of the ones that I didn't even think about it because he's still RB6. I don't see any problem with that. I think that's about accurate. Getting into the next 20, there's one that sticks out like a sore thumb, but we got 11 Kelsey, 12 Nick Chubb, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Tony Pollard, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, which maybe we need to push down a little bit after all that, Derrick Henry, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then Garrett Wilson. And I got to say, Joe, I don't know what your issue is with AJ Brown, but you have him at 21 for a consensus 14, which Billy has him at, and I have him at 7. So I canceled out your negativity about AJ Brown, and I want to hear what your issue is with AJ Brown. Why do you think AJ Brown would be, I don't know, wide receiver 11 or 12?
I don't know, man. Last year we saw at the end of the season, Donta Smith really come on. He really had some really good games at the end of the year. Dallas Goedert was injured a lot of the year, and he started, back in the thing there. AJ Brown has absolutely monster games, and he disappeared for a couple of them last year. Let's not talk that he put up 28 points every game. He did have a couple stinkers in there, which everybody does. I just like other wide receivers that are absolutely peppered with targets a little bit more. I love the offense. I love AJ Brown as a player. I love everything about it. I don't know. You burned me a couple games.
You think? Okay. Josh, before you even get off on your Eagles thing, you think legitimately Garrett Wilson is going to be better than AJ Brown? You really think that?
I have
in your heart of hearts, you think that?
I really like Garrett Wilson this year.
Okay.
I really like Garrett Wilson this year.
I like him too. I just better than AJ Brown. I don't know about that.
All right. I was holding my breath as well as I could. AJ Brown had a bad end of the season with 31, 17, 28, 16, 19, and 13 to finish the season, averaging over 10 targets a game, catching average of 6 balls a game. I don't see that. Wide receiver 4 in standard and 6 in PPR. I understand that he doesn't get 55 targets like Justin Jefferson, but Devontae Smith obviously also had good games during that time. They were both equally good. There was no Devontae Smith game to AJ Brown's game. I have him at 7, which I understand why that could look a little excessive, but to me, I have him above Cooper Kupp, which obviously Stafford is. We don't know what's happening with him right now. I don't know why my phone's talking to me right now, but AJ Brown.
Like, who is that?
And as wide receiver 6, 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns with literally no change to the wide receiver room other than getting Olamide Zaccheaus. I don't see how he's not going to be in the top 10.
Zaccheaus was the reason I ranked him so low. I just think Zaccheaus is going to.
I understand that.
I was going through my rankings and stuff. I love AJ Brown as a player. I love him. I don't see him at 7. I see him, 14. Absolutely. He left a bad taste in my mouth a couple games last year.
I don't see it.
Interesting. I guess so.
Anyone else you guys want to touch on in this?
Yeah, Josh, you didn't highlight it, but we need to talk about it because I need to understand what you all are thinking versus what I'm thinking. So Derrick Henry, I have at 13. You all have at 20 and 21. Is it because he's going to get traded? Do you think he's not going to be the cyborg that he normally is? Joe, are you still burnt because he hurt you that one year? Like, what is the reasoning that you all don't like Derrick Henry in the top 20? I mean, higher than the top 20.
This wasn't a personal spite or anything. It's just I don't think he can continue what he's been doing. This has nothing to do with age either. I think it just comes down to the Tennessee Titans not being good. And I understand that the door is going to revolve around him. But with Levis coming in, they're going to at least pretend to throw the ball. And I don't know what's going to happen there with no wide receivers. It's more about the offense thing than Derrick Henry. I know he's great and he could be bumped up a couple rankings. I wouldn't have any problem with that. But yeah, I think he's still in the second round. I wasn't gonna be upset about it. I got some guys. This was actually probably me going more wide receiver heavy too. I think that second round especially is when you want to get that first wide receiver or second wide receiver and just build a nice roster.
Joe, this is 1,000% me being ageist.
I felt like it.
This is, I would rather be a year early than a year late on Derrick Henry. I'll let someone else take him. I will not have him on any teams this year. I do think he's going to have a solid year. Maybe we see Treylon Burks kind of make an ascendance. It's what we thought he was going to be last year. So maybe they pass a little bit more. Offense in general looks a little bit better. But no, Derrick Henry is going to go out there. He's going to be the focal point. I know he's a cyborg. I don't see how it keeps going.
And maybe that's what it is too. I put him in between some good running backs still. It was just a little later. I didn't think that was a huge variance. I mean, I think you bumped him up the rankings, which deservedly so. I mean, not upset about that.
I just feel like he's going to be one of those this year where whoever takes him is either going to win the league or that person's last place. Thanks for the donation. There's two outcomes with taking Derrick Henry this year.
Who was the guy? Rashard Mendenhall. I'm not saying he's not a one-hit wonder, obviously, but it's the Rashard Mendenhall. You got him in the second round. You're yeah, I got this. We're good. And then you have the worst team in the league because you got him.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that dude had some eyes.
He did. He was fun.
Yeah. You remember the Bad Boys where he was man, it's nice fucking fish. Big fucking eyes, but a nice fucking fish. That's how I felt about Rashad Mendenhall. Moving on.
And I just feel like to get Devontae Adams, Diggs, Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson even, and I think Joe ranked him a little high, but anyway, not too much. But all right, anyway, into 21 through 30. This is when we're gonna have some Billy conversations.
Sure.
So Najee Harris at 21, Breece Hall 22, Mark Andrews, Ramondre Stevenson, Jalen Waddle, Etienne, Olave, Hawkinson, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Hurts. Yes, we will get to that in a second. But first things first, Billy, what the fuck is Ramondre Stevenson doing in the first round? Me and Joe have him at 30 and 29, and you have him at 12.
I'm confused what you all are confused about when it comes to Ramondre Stevenson. He had 200 touches last year. They ditched his backup, and Damian Harris gave him away for nothing. I know you all think in your back of your head, it's a committee. It's a committee. There's nobody on this team that's making this shit a committee. I know you all think James Robinson's going to be what he was 3 years ago, but there's really no reason to believe that. And if he's going to get like 250 touches in this offense, that's going to be better than it was last year. What are we even talking about? Of course, he's going to be a top 12 player. Like, I don't understand why you all don't think that. You think
never said any of that.
You have him in the 30s. Like that means he's going to be much worse than he was last year.
So here's my argument on this one. Ramondre Stevenson is great, yes, but there is either a Leonard Fournette, Zeke Elliott, Dalvin Cook, or some kid some kid walking the fucking streets of Iowa right now that Belichick's going to throw in there and give him fucking 40% of the carries. I know it's going to happen. You can look at the depth chart all you want.
It didn't happen last year. Why would it happen this year?
They tried last year. Damian Harris just sucked and he couldn't stay healthy.
No. Actually, so my thing was their plan last year was to use James White as the pass catching back. He got injured before the season started, and therefore Stevenson got the passing work. I understand that they didn't necessarily draft or replace the running back position for pass catcher, but they did pick up James Robinson. Not saying that he's going to take a giant role in it. I'm just saying that this isn't the same situation that we were expecting here. But my biggest thing is you got him over Breece. You got him over Najee. You got him over Pollard. I would take any of those running backs immediately.
The ceiling for him is way higher than any of those players. I don't know what we're talking about.
I don't think so. As a first round back, in the 12-13 spot, you can get Nick Chubb and CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Pollard, Devontae Adams pre-craziness. There's better positions. I'm not saying I don't have him low. I'm not arguing that. It does seem a little low now that I look at the rankings. This is my first rankings for the year. Hard to do. But I feel like I would take injured Breece Hall for weeks 1 and 2. I would take Najee Harris, who's now
Breece isn't going to be ready for weeks 1 and 2. You need to sell that down. He's not going to be ready.
I just said he wouldn't be out for 1 and 2.
I thought you said you would take him for week 1 and 2.
No, I'm saying I would take him for being out 1 and 2.
Out. Okay.
Yeah, I just there's better running backs overall. I understand Stevenson. I just don't think the pass catching numbers are there. 5 touchdowns on the year. I just can't get behind getting him in the first round. Like when I can go grab the best tight end on the board, I can get the top 5 wide receiver on the board. there's more options for me at that point. I would say if I were redo these rankings right now, I'd put him in the 25 range, a little bit, five slots up at least, but I'm not putting him at 12 ever.
I just think last year was the worst case scenario for him, and this year
that was his best year.
Exactly that was the worst that he could be was what was last year. That is the floor of Ramondre Stevenson. I think this year he's only going to build on that. Offense is going to be better. The line's a little bit better.
I think he's a sneaky late second. But no better.
Okay. My biggest thing is with Josh's point, being in the first round, that's where I'm taking a guy that I'm building my whole team around. And I'm not doing it with that many question marks as Ramondre Stevenson. I will concede I probably have him a little bit lower than I should. And that's why we do these exercises. But come on.
Build the best rankings.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't know what the question marks are, but I will concede that maybe 12 is a little high. But I'm not going to lie. If I got him on the back hat, that 12 and then snake to the 1, the 1 in the second round. If I got him in one of those picks, I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm really not. I'll be fine with that.
I'm not mad about it. I actually think you said that the running back depth is rough. I personally think the running back depth is pretty decent. I mean, this is Ramondre Stevenson in our draft rankings right now is about the edge of like the elite tier running backs who, honestly, in my opinion, could all be RB1s. Like Stevenson could be an RB1. Breece Hall could be an RB1. Derrick Henry can obviously be one. Tony Pollard. But like to me, Stevenson stays around stagnant around that range, being in that 7 to 15 range. He could easily be the running back 15 as well. I don't think it's an immediate automatic situation. Anyway, we've taken up time talking about Stevenson. I'm going to get to Hawkinson real quick. I have him ranked about 13 picks lower than both of you at 39. And that's only because, in my opinion, you draft Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and then you wait on tight ends. But I do also want to talk about Kittle, which we'd get to in a bit, who I do have ranked higher than Hawkinson. Why is everyone forgetting about Kittle? What's the issue with Kittle? He was injured for like 4 games last year, or 2 games in the beginning, and then ended up as tight end 3 like he always does. And for some reason, he's just supplanted. And he's not even number 3 on people's rank or 4 on people's rankings. He's like number 5 and number 6 and stuff. Like people hate George Kittle, and I don't know what it is. If anyone looks more like Gronkowski than anyone other than Kelce, it's George Kittle. Like he's that guy. We're going to get into this too at some point, but I don't really think Debo's the traditional wide receiver that everyone thinks he's going to be, which I think we actually all agree on with our looking at the rankings. Kittle is the number 1 receiver on that team, other than Christian McCaffrey, who is the number 1 everything.
Yeah.
I think it's just trepidation on that whole offense in general until I know more. I'm not off on Kittle at all, but you're right. I mean, I think you got the top 3, top 4. I would put Hawkinson in top 4 with Kittle and Andrews and Kelce. And then there is actually a lot of depth at tight end this year. I'm actually excited about the tight end position for once.
I feel like once you get past the top 5, you're not drafting them early, but you can get them in the 6th, 7th round for sure. I think actually we did pretty decent on tight ends. You definitely just, in my opinion, put Hawkinson a little high to put him at 25 and 27, like early 3rd, when you can still be grabbing Jalen Waddle and Olave, and there's just so much still out there that I
just think that the tight end run stops with Hawkinson. Once you get past Hawkinson, you're good to wait. Like it's fine. You're going to get somebody later on.
Kittle should be at least in that conversation.
Not until I know who the quarterback's going to be. If it's Trey Lance, hell no. If it's Brock Purdy, maybe. We'll see. And
come on, Sam Darnold, baby.
If it's Sam Darnold, hell no. Like, I don't want any part of that. So, I mean.
I guess I didn't really think about the quarterback dilemma, but at the same time, I still think it's Kittle.
When Brock Purdy comes back, you're right. George Kittle's probably for sure going to be, if he's the starter. I don't even know what Shanahan's going to do there. If he is for sure the starter, which is what I think we all think when Brock Purdy comes back. Okay, I believe in Kittle a little bit more there, but without knowing for sure, I could not take him that high without knowing for sure.
All right. It actually does make a lot more sense now that I'm looking at it. Okay. All right. I guess we should probably address the elephant in the room, which is Jalen Hurts being the first quarterback off the board, which me and Billy both did. And Joe had him about 5 slots or a few slots away. Actually, 1 slot away. Never mind. It was Mahomes, then Hurts. I don't want to make the argument. So, Bill, I'm going to let you take the argument for why Jalen Hurts could be the number 1.
Okay. Well, I mean, I still have him in the 30s because I'm beginning more and more to believe in Joe's like wait on a quarterback because who cares? And I agree completely. I think that's kind of where I fall. However, if you're going to take a quarterback, in my opinion, it is Jalen Hurts with the rushing upside that you're going to get from him this entire year. I think he's only going to excel. My only concern with the Eagles this year and with Jalen Hurts is what does that offense look like with him without Shane Steichen? That concerns me a little bit because we haven't seen Jalen Hurts without Shane Steichen other than 2 games in 2021. So again, I'm kind of hoping and praying, but that he is my QB1. Joe, I feel like you could flip-flop Mahomes and Hurts. I don't think it's going to hurt your rankings at all if you were to do that, but for me it's definitely Hurts.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely a hierarchy. I think it's Hurts and Mahomes, and then a slot down is Josh Allen. Everyone and their mother tried to anoint Josh Allen as the top quarterback, and he looked it through the first 5 games last year, came down to earth. Hurts just, Mahomes is just going to put up those ridiculous games kind of no matter what. Hurts is the same way. So take either one. They're high.
Yeah. So
take either one.
the reason I have Jalen Hurts at 19 and I have Mahomes as 20, one pick away. Once again, I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes is a bad quarterback. We all know that. The thing about this is it happens every year, and I don't know why people keep pretending that quarterbacks are going to go off the board at 4 and 5. And that's why I did this, because this is actual rankings. Like, I want to make these actual draft rankings, and people are going to draft Patrick Mahomes probably in the first round in a lot of leagues, and Jalen Hurts probably shortly after. But my thing about Jalen Hurts being over Mahomes is he was and could have been the number one and was the running or the QB1 for the majority of the year. And then those last two games, he definitely died off a little bit.
Should have been the MVP of the league, but I still don't think people are ready to talk about that.
No, yeah, we're not going to get into that. We're doing ranking show here. We'll get into that some other time. But once you get past Burrow, Mahomes and Hurts and Allen all in the 400s, a little bit under for Jalen because he was injured those two games. You are 100 points less at QB5. That is, I don't know, 10 points a game in fantasy football. I mean, that is a game changer. A lot of games come down to 10 points. So I'm not usually a draft quarterbacks high kind of guy, but I see why people want to. They want Mahomes on their team. Hurts was the biggest steal last year in fantasy football because you got him in the 8th, 9th round. I mean, that's what you want every year, is that diamond in the rough who's going to potentially be the QB1. But I'm just saying, we need to start ranking quarterbacks higher in fantasy football rankings, because there's no way Jalen Hurts is going 30 and Patrick Mahomes is going 31, in my opinion.
No, and you're absolutely right with that. But my only argument, and you nailed it on the head, is I would rather get that Hurts in the 8th round, 9th round. Like, I mean, Fields had that massive stretch last year, which I think is going to vault him up a little bit more with the recency bias. But Fields would be a guy, if he's going to like the 7th, 8th round, I'd be more than happy to take that as my QB1.
I was going to say, usually I would say that, and this is why I think we all have quarterbacks going off in the 5th and 6th round, is because usually once people fill up their team with their 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and flex, that's when quarterbacks go off the board. And that's why we have in the 50s a lot of quarterbacks going off the board.
Or when you have those one idiots in your league and they start taking QB2 in like the 6th round, and you're like, God damn it.
Yeah. That's a little bit more dangerous. But anyway, let's get back to the rankings. We've made our rant loud and clear. So 30 Hurts, 31 Mahomes, 32 Sanders, T. Higgins, Walker, Josh Allen, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Metcalf. I don't think there's anything wrong with these. So I'm the outlier here in these two.
Okay, I was about to say, I mean, there's nothing wrong with these. There's one.
No. I meant consensus wise. My apologies.
Fair enough.
Yeah, sorry, I was going through the 10.
So why do you hate T. Higgins? We need to learn.
So my thing about T. Higgins is I think he's going to get traded during the season, and I think he gets traded to a team where it's not the same situation. And also, if you look at T. Higgins, he's never been above wide receiver 18 in an entire year. So I actually think I ranked him as wide receiver 23, which is just a few down from where he's his max. So I do have him a little lower than you guys. I understand I have him at 54 and you guys both have him at 26, which seemed to be the consensus there. And I completely understand. And I could vault him up. I feel like there's going to be some downplay to T. Higgins this year. I think it's a Jamar Chase season. And T. Higgins kind of just gets the leftover scraps. Like it's never a huge game for him. It's more consistency. And I think consistency basis is more for the 4th round. And that's where I had him ranked. So, but I will say Ken Walker, who I also have significantly lower than you, I think you guys are forgetting that this is not going to be the same. When they tried to use Penny to start the year, and then Kenneth Walker took over once Penny got injured, as per Joe's obvious prediction. But with the Charbonnet draft pick and Pete Carroll wanting to keep people healthy and seeing it over and over again with Penny, I don't see Kenneth Walker getting the full workload. I think it's going to be a weird split. I think they're both going to be efficient, but it's going to be more of Kenneth Walker game and Charbonnet game, and that's why I have him lower more so than anything. And once again, I probably have him way too low. I'm at 54, you guys, or 47, and you guys have him at 30 and 31. I just could not put Kenneth Walker above Dalvin Cook and Aaron Jones and some of the other guys that are above him in my rankings, because I know what their workload looks like other than potentially getting traded or,
we don't know what Dalvin Cook's workload looks like.
We can get into that. I just wanted to make my defense there.
There's one guy I want to highlight here because I think all three of us are pretty high on this guy versus ECR. I mean, We got Miles Sanders at RB14. I've been seeing him go much later than where we have him right now. We've got him at, what is that, 32?
32.
Yeah, we've got him at 32. Miles Sanders is in for a colossal year of football, ladies and gentlemen. And if people are going to sleep on him, I'm happy about it because he's going to have an awesome year. I love it.
You want to know what it is? People fucking hate Miles Sanders and David Montgomery. They don't think they're good running backs. They're middle of the pack guys. Miles Sanders ended up as running back 10 in standard on a team that refused to use him.
Yeah.
Like it was impressive what he did with this. And Carolina, there is no way they signed him that contract, and there's no one behind him. There's no way they don't use him to the fullest. I think this could be Miles Sanders might be the steal of the draft this year. He's that I would say if you got to put a breakout player out there, it's Miles Sanders because no one behind him, a complete new team, and they signed him up for a bunch of money, so they're not going to not use him.
Well, and not only that, I mean, the Carolina offense is going to be run with short passes. Like they're not going to let Bryce Young chuck the ball down the field, at least at the start. He's going to be doing check downs to Thielen and Sanders and potentially like Mingo. And then he might air a couple out to Chark. But like short pass game is going to be how we get the offense moving here with Frank Reich. Even though I know he's refused to do that in the past, I think he's going to have to allow Bryce Young to get up to speed because he's a little short, guys. I don't know if we've mentioned that, but he's a little short.
Dude, that video of him standing behind that line was so ridiculous. Like, how is he supposed to see, man? I get he's done it.
These questions with Kyler,
but huge guys, but it just doesn't make sense in my brain.
He's not as mobile as Kyler, so I really am curious how this is going to work. When he gets hit by a 350-pound defensive tackle, how is he going to stand back up after that? Like, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
I just picture throwing behind a line like that at that size, like is playing behind a picket fence, and like you can see someone running on the other side of the picket fence, but you just kind of hope and pray that there's no defender over there. But
yeah, no, it's Carolina's. It's an interesting team, but I just feel like it's going to be run through Miles Sanders, and I do agree. Thank you, Joe, for picking that up. I actually, surprisingly enough, have Sanders the lowest of the three of you, and I was very shocked.
I really do.
I kept trying to put him up there, but it was
hate Miles Sanders. That's all it means. You left your Eagles, and now you're spurned. I get it.
It was hard for me to put him like above Etienne and some of these guys, though. And like I know you guys didn't either, but there was a lot of good running back. I feel like the top 12 running backs is just phenomenal. So
I had Miles Sanders 6 spots ahead of Etienne.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. You did. I have a good feeling about Etienne this year personally. I think Jacksonville is going to continue to keep their upgrade, which we will get to shortly. So getting into, I did the 30s, right? Down to the 40s. Mm-hmm. DK Metcalf, 41, Hopkins, Mixon, Debo, Kittle, Pierce, McLaurin, Pittman, Godwin, Gibbs. And I'm still loving all of these names on the board. Like there's no like, don't want him. Don't want him.
Yeah.
It's
going to be a good draft this year.
It really is. I feel like the first 5 rounds, I don't think anyone, I mean, you can mess up obviously due to injuries and stuff like that. And unfortunately, in this top 50, there's going to be 1 or 2 names missing because of injuries, unfortunately, like preseason. But I'll get into my real low pick, and that's DK Metcalf. And that was just oversight on me. I have him 20 spots a little lower than you guys. And really it was coming down to, I was just downgrading all of Seattle because of the amount of weapons they have. This is the JSN situation. I agree that I'm low on him. I'm not going to sit here and argue that Metcalf's the 50th pick off the board. We ended up averaging him out to 40, which he's under guys like Cooper Allen and T. Higgins, which once again, my bad. So I don't dislike where he ended up. I think he's right about where he needs to be. I think you guys might be a little high on him at the 30s, mainly just because Lockett is still there and at the moment healthy. And then you bring in JSN and then these 2 running backs. It's a lot of mouths to feed in Seattle for Geno Smith, who had a great year last year, but I can't just say that he's the guy now, like, I don't know. So
yeah. I have my process of athletic freaks in nature in fantasy football, and DK Metcalf is the one of the anomalies where he doesn't produce like he should, but I somehow always rank him higher and somehow never have him on my team either. So it's really, he's an enigma.
I made a
somebody
fireball
usually
bet.
takes him way too high. Honestly, that's usually the problem with DK is like somebody takes him like in the second round. You're just like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I'm
I guess
maybe I'm
that's what we're
scorned
doing.
about the fireball bet I made of him being a wide and top 10 wide receivers, and he didn't make it. And now there's more weapons on the team. So I love what Seattle's done for regular football, but for fantasy football, I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Because there's no like, oh yeah, DK Metcalf's that dude there. Because JSN easily, we saw the talent what he has, and we know that he can do something. Joe, I'm gonna need you to explain Joe Mixon at 30, which we have 46 and 53.
Okay, so you remember last year where I was talking about how Josh Jacobs was going to get absolutely run into the ground to where he wasn't going to have any feet left? That is my Joe Mixon pick this year.
Oh.
With the legal issues, the team's pissed at him. They've had Chris Evans, Travion Williams forever, and they've never played him. Chase Brown's going to be interesting to see how he factors into this because I do think Chase Brown's going to get some run. But I think this team wants to win, and they are just going to run Joe Mixon down into the ground until he drowns in dirt, man. That's the reason I have him so high.
Joe, you actually changed my opinion on that because you're absolutely right. I do believe I'm not going to put him at 30. I still think that's a bit much, but I definitely put him lower because of the legal issues and just
that's
in
what
general.
I don't even know if he's going to be on this team. To be honest with you, he could be a June 1st cut for all I know at this point. I don't know how they're going to treat him.
Also, I feel like the off the field issues don't seem like, from what they've said at least, which doesn't mean anything. It doesn't seem like he was actually involved in that incident. Just happened to be wrong place, wrong time, which we've all been at in one day or another. So hopefully that's the case with him, and hopefully he does continue his career. And what has done is phenomenal in his career so far. So, and if Cincinnati's gonna make it further than they have and make it to the big day and go win themselves a ship, Mixon's got to be a big part of it. So, Joe, I don't dislike that.
Yeah, that's my no legs at the end of the season guy.
One guy that I want to talk about before, and Billy might be ahead of this before we move on to the next 10, or actually, I guess we got one guy we need to talk about. But Dameon Pierce, running back 19 on our rankings at 46. I think he's going to be a steal here. I think a lot of people are worried about Singletary taking over some of his backfield. I think Pierce, it was his rookie year, and he made that team look good. And this team only got better. Hopefully, Mechie's back. Godspeed. We hope everything's been going good in the recovery process. They got themselves a new quarterback. They got his shiny favorite toy, Tank Dell, which who knows what's going to happen there. But little guy coming in. But, I mean, this team was one of the better, for one, defenses. So they were always in a game. So Pierce always really got the chance. And really, the decline in stats for Pierce was he was the only one doing anything. So teams learn really quickly, shut down Pierce, and you shut down the Texans. But this year, there's going to be a little bit more competition with targets and actual quarterback play. No offense to Davis Mills. Did a great job filling in and getting up to those early picks. But I don't know. I feel like Pierce, we are actually all consensusly low on, in my opinion, because there's a lot of Dalvin Cooks, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon's aging vets. And we got to – Dameon Pierce is a young guy, and this is his first new year with a new team. I'm pretty excited for him.
Yeah. No,
Dameon 40, Pierce, I feel like that's about right.
Yeah, my only problem with Dameon Pierce is the guys that we have currently ranked behind him. Jameer Gibbs, J.K. Dobbins, Javonte Williams, and Rashad White. I think I would rather have any of those guys over Pierce. But it's not a knock on Pierce itself. It's just how high he is going currently.
Same tier, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're all in the same spot. Joe, we got one more for you before we get out of this tier. 38 for Chris Godwin with Baker Mayfield throwing him the ball. I have him at 63. Billy has him at 48, which is probably the average, where he's at 49, which is why he's there. But which I think that's about where he should be. But I went low on him because I think this team's might also be in that tanking. This is one of those teams we need to talk about, Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I like Chris Godwin here mainly because that position he plays and what he excels at, I think, is quarterback proof. The short slants, I think he's going to get peppered with targets. We saw Mayfield keep Jarvis Landry busy. We saw him, short time with the Rams, didn't do a whole lot there. But I'm not worried about the quarterback for Chris Godwin solely because of the position he plays. And I think he's a very good receiver. And talk about cheap PPR points. That is the definition of it.
Yeah, I guess you're right about that. I don't really have any rebuttal. Joe could be right or Josh could be right. that offense is going to be weird.
I actually think our consensus ranking, this is one of those things where we canceled out our hot takes and we ended up in the middle, and that's actually one of the better things. So also, I guess we did say we would talk about this in Debo. We all had him like dead on, and I was shocked because I thought I was putting him low. 44, 43, 44 at 44. Shocking enough. Right behind Hopkins, Metcalf, and right before McLaurin, Pittman, Godwin, and I think we're right.
Yeah,
I think so too.
We actually have the most consistent deviation on Debo out of anybody in the draft, even in the first round.
Oh, I'm pretty sure, yeah. And to be fair, there's a couple random ones later where we were all really close. Jamar Gibbs, we're pretty close on 53, 47, 50. Pretty much.
Well, my problem with Debo is that you're not going to be excited when he ends up on your team. Like, you're going to pick him because it's going to be like, oh, well, Debo's available. I'm picking between Debo and Michael Pittman and Terry McLaurin. Like, I'll just take Debo. You're not going to feel great about it, though. I mean, it's same with like Terry McLaurin. He's got Sam Howell throwing to him. You're going to take him because of the talent, not necessarily like he doesn't have like the wide receiver one upside that he's had in the past, though. Like that's frustrating.
Yeah, I actually disagree with the McLaurin take because McLaurin has played with bad quarterbacks his entire career, and he still gets 1,000 yards.
It's never been exciting to get him, though, because you're just like, oh, Alex Smith is throwing the ball. Fuck, I know he's not going to be the number one wide receiver this year. Oh, he's got Sam Howell throwing the ball. He's not going to be the number one wide receiver this year. Got Dwayne Haskins throwing him the ball. He's not going to be the number one wide receiver this year. Like, it's just you just keep going. Like, it's just this same thing every year with him. Oh, he's got Taylor Heineke throwing him the ball. Not going to be the number one wide receiver this year.
Him and Heineke. I still have high hopes for McLaurin.
It's just so frustrating with McLaurin because I want him to be on a good team with a good quarterback because I want to take him and feel like this. I'm winning this year. This is my year. But I feel like McLaurin.
We'll trade for him now because Caleb Williams is going to make him a stud, right?
Dude, you're telling me I'm already thinking. The wheels are turning.
All right, real quick. Since we're about at the hour mark and we made it through 50, which I think
we need to speed this up for
sure. No. We're not going through it all. Everybody's gonna pick one more that's highlighted. It can be whether you're high on them or you're low.
No, I've got two more that I'm
all right. Two more apiece, and it can be anyone. I could be like, Joe, why the fuck did you put Chris Godwin at 38? We already went over that, obviously. So pick your one, Bill. Pick one of yours. Yeah, right. Go ahead.
I'll go first. I have James Conner at 38. Josh 72, Joe 54. The reason I don't get it is they didn't add anything to the offense. Colt McCoy is terrible, so it's not like that's going to mean anything. And it's what else are they going to do but run the ball? Like, I don't think they're going to be doing anything else but running the ball. So I think James Conner has a good chance this year to end up in that top tier of production just because there is nothing else going on there. I don't even think DeAndre Hopkins and Zach Ertz are going to be on this team by week 8. I think they'll be traded well before then because this team's terrible. And he's just going to be benefiting from garbage, just being the team being garbage. That's the reason I have him that high.
I personally think I'm very low on him. This comes down to dislike for James Conner. The walking into the end zone 2 years ago, 16 times or whatever it was. I don't think he's that good of a running back, but I think you might be right. You might be onto something. There's not much going on here. This was an oversight on my part. I put him at 72. I just don't like him. So I just kept not putting him in the rankings.
No, I agree with you 100%. This is solely because I am tired of James Conner. I don't want him to be a thing anymore. So I won't put him at 38. I'll say that.
Well, so 38 might be strong because that's like the beginning of the 4th round. And if you pick James Conner, everybody in your draft room is going to laugh at you very heartily if you do that. So I get it. I just think by the year's end and we look at the rankings and he ends up as running back like 20, I'm not going to be shocked. This team's going to be is going to suck, and they're not going to throw the ball as much because I think they're going to get rid of their weapons.
Yeah.
All right.
No, Joe, your thought process is sound.
Right, Joe, I'm going to go next, and I'm actually just kicking it to you because I want to talk about that home run you're swinging, which makes no fucking sense because you fucking hated DJ Moore until he got on your team. But now he's 40. True. Now he's 48. Above the likes of some of these other running wide receivers, Terry McLaurin, Pittman, who you love and always been a fan of. I I need to know what you're thinking with DJ Moore at 48. For example, I have him at 62, which I think was pretty accurate. And Billy has him at 78, which is actually really low for Billy, which I thought if I would have looked at these rankings, I would have assumed that I messed up and flip-flopped them.
If Justin Fields is going to throw the ball more than 12 times in a game, I would put him higher. How about
This is
that?
to Joe. This is to Joe, Billy.
Sorry, I just need to see it first.
Excuse me. Can I talk now, Bill?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's your turn.
Okay.
Sure.
So it's a little bit of a homer pick. I'll give it that. But the thought process is sound. Justin Fields, they upgraded that line. Darnell Wright's going to give him more time to play. They're going to run more bootleg stuff. The team's better around him in general. Claypool's coming into the offense, actually understand it a little bit more this year. Not saying great things in there. But I think DJ Moore and you get a healthy Mooney, this offense is going to look completely different, let alone they brought in Tanyan and Kmet. I think this opens a lot for DJ Moore. And Justin Fields was one of the most accurate long ball quarterbacks the last 2 years. When he gets a chance to throw, he makes good throws. And I think this DJ Moore signing pairs up so perfectly with the type of quarterback that Justin Fields is. Because even if he throws it short, DJ Moore kind of turns into a running back in the open field. Now, my knock on DJ Moore was never that he wasn't good. It was just because Carolina's quarterbacks have been terrible, and I don't have any faith in them. So this is more of a fit and the player, and I'm very high on them, and a homer side too. But.
So I actually have a homer take here, and I know this is going to – anyone who listened to any of our content last year is going to be like, okay, shut up, you already did this. I think this bodes well for Mooney. I think Mooney was not equipped to be the wide receiver one, but I think he can be the wide receiver one on this offense. I like DJ Moore, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think in these two wide receivers, and that's why I have Moore lower, and I would like to put Mooney up. I didn't because we did it last year, and I just feel like got to stop eventually. You got to get yourself out of it, but since this is my turn to go, I just want to say that Mooney and Moore, I think it's pretty interchangeable. It just depends on what Justin Fields and when Justin Fields determines to start throwing and what happens afterwards. Like who is the guy? Because it could be Mooney. Like, I mean, we got to talk about it.
Going into a contract here. So
yeah,
it'll be, yeah. I'm really high on DJ Moore, and he's dirt fucking cheap right now. You can get him anywhere for nothing.
I like the idea of where he should be. Your ranking was a little much. So
going into a contract year with 4 targets a game is going to be really, really tough to sell to his new team, I guess. But
I was gonna say the next team's getting a steal of a discount. Then,
man, you really hate on my Bears right now.
Out on the Bears, it's on the offense. If they're not going to let that man throw the ball more than 12 times a game, this isn't going to fly.
Let's give the chance.
What's the Buccaneers hashtag?
Damn, I don't know.
You better figure that out. But no, honestly, Joe, I'm giving benefit of the doubt to the Bears. I think that they are in potential cahoots to win the division if they play this right, because they did what they needed to do to make this team better. They boosted the offensive line. They got another wide receiver. Their running backs are still solid. This is, if it's not this, it's not Justin Fields.
As a fan, dude, all I really want is them to be in cahoots. So that's fine.
That's not the word I meant to say, which is the best one. All right, Joe, who do you want to highlight here?
I'm gonna throw this one over to Billy, and let's talk about Cam Akers here, bud.
Okay.
You got him at 50. Josh has him at 69. And I got him at 92.
So this is kind of like I was like hedging a bet because I think that they're going to add a running back potentially, and so I can see where this goes south really quickly. However, if they don't and they decide to tank out this year because they do have the number 1 draft pick next year and they do have a chance to reinvent this offense, I think there's a chance that they just run their offense through Cam Akers and just ride it out and not sign him back again and just let it rip. So would I be mad about taking him in the 5th round? Absolutely not. It would be fine by me.
Yeah, I can't agree with you here. The only time Cam Akers has ever been good in his career so far, other than the first couple of games of his career before the injury, was when they literally had nothing to play for. So I want to see it before I put him.
Just like this season, am I right?
I mean, sort of, but like they're still gonna try. Like they're gonna at least play games.
With
I don't think
what? How are they going to try? They have a quarterback that should not play football ever again. Cooper Kupp's old ass, who needs to get out of town as fast as he possibly can. and Sean McVay, who doesn't even want to coach, wants to be on a beach somewhere, and I can't blame him.
Yeah, no, well,
You would take Cam Akers over Javonte Williams right now.
Yes.
No. All right. Anyway, well, we're not getting into that, but I want to
I
talk
rated
about
him at 92 just because I knew one of you fuckers was going to have him way too fucking high.
Not me, 69 all day. But no, my thing is, this is what happens, and this wasn't Sean McVay's fault. Sean McVay did what he could as a coach. This was fucking Stan Kroenke trying to pretend like he has a fan base by going and winning a championship. And you know what? Those stands are still empty there, bud. You went to LA. It's not going to work out. You got your Super Bowl, and it still looks like shit. And now it's going to look real bad for the next 3 years. What you could have done is you could have built an actual longevity of a roster instead of buying every player out there. I'm done. I promise. Billy, what do you got?
I mean, we're gonna kick this to the Eagles, Josh. Why do you hate DeAndre Swift?
Yeah, that just comes down to nothing to do with DeAndre Swift, but the fact that the Eagles hate using running backs. And DeAndre Swift and Gainwell, I feel like, are going to be interchangeable at the beginning of the season. I think the only way DeAndre Swift sees a full workload is if there's an injury to Penny, which
will happen.
Which could happen. But also, if
it could happen tomorrow.
You're right. He might be walking down the stairs. Yeah. Anyway, no, it's more about, this was more about the Eagles not committing to a lead running back. Even when Sanders was on fire last year, they would not give him more than 6 carries in certain games. It's more about consistency, and that's why I have him lower, because I personally don't want him on my team. I'll probably end up with him, because let's be real. But
Miles Sanders just finished as a RB10. We just talked about this, and you don't think that Swift could potentially do the same thing?
I think he could.
Swift is better than Sanders, I think, talent-wise.
I don't.
Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know.
I think Sanders is one of the more underrated running backs, and he proved it last year with no workload. But I just feel like with Swift's injury history and what the Eagles have done with running back history, it's just all together. I could not put them all. I just couldn't put him too high. I think I'm low on him, sure, but I put Penny and him around the same, I believe, because it's like I don't know which one's going to be, and they're going to do that stupid shit. Yeah, Penny and Swift are 2 away from each other at running back 28 and 30 in line.
I just pre-ranked Penny's injury because he's not going to play after week 6. So.
I actually think this is going to be the 1 year where Penny stays healthy and goes and gets a deal with a random team after this year, because the Eagles are going to keep rotating 1-year guys that are on the end of their contracts for the next 3 years. And Penny is going to get paid by someone next year because Penny's going to have a good year, and it's going to be stupid.
Okay.
All right. One thing I want to talk about is Calvin Ridley. I'm kicking it to myself, and I have Calvin Ridley 30 picks above Billy, or 25, and about 40 to 50 above Joe. I'm at 38. And you want to know why? Because Calvin Ridley is going to come back with a vengeance. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind, and I didn't rank him over anyone where I think was ridiculous. I have him over Debo and DK. We talked about DK. That was my bad once again. But Terry McLaurin, Pittman, Keenan Allen, that territory, why can't Calvin Ridley be there? I mean, they have Christian Kirk already. I think that's going to only boost Calvin Ridley's stock, because he was clearly not the wide receiver 1 we wanted to see when Julio left town in Atlanta. But Calvin Ridley coming off this year, I understand that the situation, but I have a feeling Ridley is going to have just a monster year. And I think he's going to be a steal in a lot of drafts, because a lot of people are going to kind of forget about what he did because it's recency bias.
Yeah. I can see what you mean. I love this offense from a football perspective. Christian Kirk paid him a ton of money. He's going to work the underneath routes a lot. Ridley's going to play his deep role like he did against Julio. And then you got Ingram in there. They drafted Strange as a blocking tight end, and they have Tank Bigsby and Etienne there. This offense
and Zay Jones, who mysteriously comes out of nowhere to have games.
I think he immediately takes over the Joneses role, though, and takes all the targets from the Joneses, like the two Joneses combined. And Ridley's now Zay Jones, and that's 82 catches with 800 yards with no talent last year.
Damn. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, that was hot.
What a drive-by. Jones. Jesus.
I just got burned by Ridley. So fucking
good Lord.
I understand the issue.
My only problem with Ridley is there's 2 years off. I just don't know what he's going to look like. I mean, once he catches his first ball in the OTAs, and then I see him catch it and land and run, I'm probably going to be like, well, move him up 15 spots.
I just feel like
That's
he's
enough
fully
for me.
healthy. Hopefully he's been working out. I mean, obviously we don't know what he's been doing, but
I don't know. Deshaun Watson was off for 2 years, and suddenly he came back and forgot how to play quarterback. So
it was all the massages, dude. If Ridley's getting massages too, he's fucked.
Hopefully he's not gambling.
All right, Joe.
In Florida, Ridley.
Can you gamble on massages?
Joe, kill us all. What do we got? What's the last ridiculous pick?
Guys, I want to talk to you about how fucking ignorant you are about Brian Robinson being ranked ahead of Antonio Gibson by both you guys. Antonio Gibson, I am extraordinarily high on this year. Everything
you really are, Joe, by the way.
Yeah,
I wanted to bring that one up. If we had a third one, I was going to mention it.
Yeah, you guys got shot in the leg Robinson fucking ranked over Antonio Gibson. I had to overrank Gibson to get him up there. Gibson's going to get everything. Rivera came out and said, hey, we need to shift the production over to Antonio Gibson. Brian Robinson's nothing but a short yardage back, guys. I know it was a sweet story. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the entire fantasy football community here. He ain't shit. He might get you 3 yards. He's going to fight really hard for those 3 yards, and that's going to be the end of Brian Robinson. So 20 carries, 3 yards, 60 yards a game. That's 6 fucking points.
I agree with you.
Catch 10 fucking balls in the game this year.
Joe,
right.
calm down. Number one, I agree with everything except for the drive-by that you did on Brian Robinson, which he does not need at the moment. Again, yes. But no, honestly, my thing about Brian Robinson is they clearly liked him better, and I don't know why. Antonio Gibson has been nothing but consistent. They drafted Brian Robinson, and it was just like, they keep drafting running backs, and I'm just like, stop. Just stop. I think Gibson's phenomenal. I just traded him away and for a second-round pick, a last pick in the second, because I don't believe that they're going to give him the shot that he deserves. And it's just going to be one of those things where teams are running 2 running back teams. I think Gibson has the talent. I think the problem is he's not on the team that's going to use him the correct way. And by the time this year at the moment, I think Brian Robinson's going to get the start off the get-go, and Gibson will have some good games later in the year. I think he's definitely worth drafting a redraft and could be a steal in late rounds, but I don't think anyone's going after him, which is the best part. It's kind of like the Fournette-Rojo situation where there's the 2 running backs. Like, who is it going to be? Everyone thinks it's going to be Robinson. So it's going to be 10 picks later where Gibson goes, and that's going to be a steal personally. So I agree with you. Your ranking's a little homerish.
I agree with you too. I have Brian Robinson going in round 7 and Antonio Gibson going in round 9. And that is exactly where I think, because this team is going to suck. I don't care how many times we have talked about the Commanders on this podcast. They are going to suck. I don't believe in
playing
them.
Catch up all the time, and Brian Robinson is not that guy. That's Antonio.
Well, that's the problem, Joe, is that last year I agree with that too, and they still put Brian Robinson out there for no damn reason. He
had one game where he looked really good, and I don't
even think he looked good in that game. I remember after they beat the Eagles, everyone's like, Brian Robinson's the Eagles killer. And I was like, is he? He sucked in that game. He didn't do shit. He just ran the ball NFL, 30 times.
That dude looked shitty as hell at the Senior Bowl, bro.
Yeah, it was nothing. Like, Brian Robinson was nothing in that game. And everybody's like, well, Brian Robinson, Eagles killer.
Joe, I will say, I like how your pick made Gibson above Brian Robinson in our consensus rankings. And I appreciate that. I appreciate your service. I think 60 is a little high for Gibson, but I think this is right where they should both be in the 80s. And I personally think Gibson's the better running back. I just don't think they use him correctly.
I think they both suck, and the Commanders suck.
All right. Well, anyway, let's end this, because apparently we get a little hostile when we go over the hour and 10-minute mark, because shit just gets wild here. And
too much of you fuckers.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. So we're gonna take next week off, Possums, and then we're gonna jump into our division previews for the whole rest of the summer, pretty much up until August when we start talking about the redraft rankings and all that good stuff. And I'm here to tell you all, I will not be talking about the Washington Commanders when we do the NFC East pod. I promise. I won't be doing it. I won't be talking Falcons, and I won't be talking Commanders. I'm just clearing that out right now. When we all have to choose a team, that is not the team I'm choosing from that division. I don't want
to hear rebuttals from you.
Do not care. I won't talk about them because they're nothing franchises this year, in my opinion.
I actually, honestly, out of all the NFC East rivals, the Commanders I've always liked, and it's really sad because get the shit end of the stick every time with Alex Smith's injury, who was at the end of his career, but he was still looking pretty decent by the time he went there. And it's almost like
Well, even
Andrew
like
Luck
Joe
thing, where
Theismann, like just back to those days with them, like they had to deal with that on the field.
they get a
He's
tough,
a great guy, by the way.
they get a tough deal, but then they fuck Gibson over. So honestly, they deserve it. They deserve it. Just kidding. That's terrible. All right. Anyway, anyone else got any final thoughts you want to get out about anything?
Yeah, I got to caddy for Joe Theismann. He was just a swell fella.
Wow, you did a nice thing.
Yeah.
But again, Possums, if you're listening this long, we will be off next week.
So listen to this one again.
Listen to this one 3 times. We probably will have YouTube videos, so check that out. YouTube.com/the IDP Army. You can check out our videos there.
And anyone who catches
people know
those,
that.
anyone who catches those, remember we're offensive points and we talk about the offense. So that
and remember, green shirt is the arrogant asshole. Just remember, green.
I wore
shirt,
green
arrogant
again.
Asshole. I know you did. I'm just making sure everybody knows. Green shirt, arrogant asshole.
Yeah, Joe. I'm sorry.